on the hardest server in Rust. This could be yours, but you'll have to go through this, outnumbered by thirsty groups. But still, my torch burns, a fire that makes me cold. A solo with persistence never loses. I will not give up. I will not surrender. I will not rate solos, but I will watch clans burn like the flame of my torch. This journey started on the beach. As soon as I spawned, I went out looking for a place to build my home. One day, we'll have pets in Rust. But until then, animals will remain our enemies. The server was packed, but I was on a mission to find a place to build, and along the way, I farmed. If you're new to the channel, you should subscribe. I post content like this every week, and I don't sugarcoat things. What you see here is exactly how my wipe went, and a true reflection of the solo experience on the hardest server in the game. I'm not a big fan of Outpost this early into wipe, but I came here to recycle these sewing kits. And now I had cloth for some sleeping bags. Next thing you know, I was deep in the snow. I figured that maybe out here I could find a place to build, but around every corner was a massive base. And in the distance, I could hear constant sounds of raiding. It wasn't safe out here by any means, but I was willing to try. On this server, there's no discussing things. If someone sees you, just expect a wall of bullets to follow. Seemed like the snow wasn't going to cut it, so I decided to try the desert. and in the middle of the night, I found a distant island. So I swam over to see if it was taken. To my surprise, it wasn't. So I began farming and laid down a small 1x1 to claim the area. And while farming the road, I found this revolver. So I quickly hopped on this horse and made my way to the water near my island. Now that I had a decent amount of wood, stone, and loot, it was time to expand the base. Finally, I had something to work with, and before I logged out for the night, I sealed off my TC, expecting an offline raid. The next day, I was out looking for some boars when I encountered these guys. And that's when I realized that the island was reserved for a group. It was their farming ground. So instead of bothering with them, I decided to spawn back out in the snow and try again. Because that's what we do as solos. We don't give up. While I was exploring, I came across this huge cliffside with a massive drop. I wondered, could I build a base on this drop? It was worth a try, so I made that my goal, and I got to work. Just as I was about to begin experimenting with my cliffside base, I heard this. And as soon as I saw the player approaching, I collected all my loot and I relocated my box. And when the coast was clear, I continued where I left off. The area was still hot, but I needed more resources, so I took a chance and did some farming at the top of the mountain. As I was upgrading my roof to stone, I heard someone farming trees above, and soon after, I heard them farming nodes, so I tried my best to stay quiet as I listened to their footsteps. Clearly, they discovered my base. matter what I did, I couldn't catch a break. And that's when I decided to go to Outpost. I couldn't handle constantly dying that way, and hearing the chatter of friendly players at Outpost put my mind at ease.
You're gonna have to make it a little. I'm gonna have to leave it, bro. I don't need any of that stuff. I'm sorry. I need scrap real bad. Selling a SAR. Anybody want a SAR? What about you, Steady Teddy? You look like a man that can use a SAR.
Eventually, I left and I made my way back to the snow. And as I was approaching my base, I heard a raid. It sounded much closer than I would have hoped. And as I peered around the corner, I could see that it was my base being raided. This time around, as a solo, I felt like a target. Eventually, the raiders left in their minicopter, and I climbed the mountain to assess the damage. I quickly began to seal up the base. I tried my best to recover from the raid, but around every corner, someone was waiting. this point, I had had enough. So I spawned out in the grassy fields, and I roamed in hopes of finding a new home. Day turned to night, but I wasn't willing to give up. Somewhere in this rust world was a place for a solo in search of peace. And as the sun began to rise, it revealed a beautiful sight, a sight of a forest that looked promising. As I made my way down into the forest, I could hear the sounds of the birds. Their songs of nature eased the stress from before. Suddenly, my luck had changed. So I went for this toolbox, not expecting much, but I found this. This forest was where I belonged. So I began farming. And then I started building. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to my YouTube members. This was part 1, and as you can see, this journey didn't start out very smooth, but us streamers, we find the good in all bad situations. So stay tuned for part 2. I'll see you all in the comment section down below. You've been watching an Orange Dream production.